Hola estudiantes, buenos días. Aquí estamos en semana 2.3. It's our third lecture of the second week. You've made it this far. Felicidades. Today we're going to be discussing el verbo ser. It's your first verb in Spanish. Awesome. Before we get to that, there are some things that we need to know to be able to work with verbs. These are called subject pronouns or pronombres del sujeto. I don't really care so much that you know the grammar-y words to be able to identify what is this word nosotros, and you say it's a subject pronoun. The grammar isn't really what's important. The grammar is an ends to a mean. What we use as the tools in order to be able to facilitate communication. So these are kind of like building blocks. So let's take a look at them. Repite. Yo, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Bien. Let's take a closer look. So, take a look at tú and usted. Here it's written out. Here it's abbreviated. As I mentioned, they both mean you, but there's a little bit of a difference. One is formal and one is informal. Another thing I'd like to point out is what is the difference between this? You have tú, and then you have tú con un acento. Is it the same thing? Well, not exactly. I use the first one when I'm asking, ¿cuál es tu email? O ¿cuál es tu número de teléfono? I use the second one when I'm referring to tú, as in you. Él. Same thing, same question. What is the difference between él and el con acento? Well, they are different. The first one is like el libro, el cuaderno, el chico, whereas it means the, whereas the second one is he. What else can I tell you? As far as nosotros and nosotras, these mean we, but there is a little bit of a difference in the sense that here it says masculino, but if you look at the end, it's not just masculino. Let's imagine that you had a group of, a huge group where you're at a concert and there's 20,000 females and one tiny little baby boy. Which one would you use? Well, you would use nosotros. Because linguistically speaking, the male is linguistically dominant. So when you have a mixed group, if you have nosotros, if you have a mixed group, you have chicos, you have chicas, you're always going to use the masculino. Nosotros. Sorry. You should write a strongly worded email to the Real Academia Española if you don't like that linguistic dominance factor. I tried, it didn't work. So if you look at these two, vosotros and ustedes, it's kind of the same concept. If you understood well the difference between tú and usted, it's the same thing between vosotros and ustedes. The difference is that this one is informal and this one is formal. That's it. Now in English, what is the difference between tú, usted, and vosotros, vosotras? This says you, and you. Confused yet? Well, don't be. The only difference is that this is singular for talking to one person, you, and this is plural for addressing a group. Since we're in the South, I'm going to say y'all, and I hope that doesn't make you grit your teeth, but vosotros and ustedes are the equivalent of y'all, or you all, or you guys if you prefer. Ellos and ellas stand for they, with the masculino y the femenino and the mixed group. So here's another slide to try and explain the concept of the different yous. In English, we just say you. But then we do differentiate between a singular you and a plural you by changing it to y'all or you all or you guys, urines, right? Whatever. In Espanol, they just have different words to describe it. But there's a distinction that I'm going to point out to you. So we have tú, usted, vosotros, and ustedes, and all of those are used in España. So when you go to address somebody, if you're speaking to an individual, you choose tú, usted. If you're addressing a group, you use vosotros, vosotras, or ustedes. True in Spain, but not true in the rest of the world, which is why we are going to learn vosotros. Obviously, I studied in Spain, and it's important that you know it, but it's not as widely used as ustedes. So it's much more important that you practice with ustedes to address a group or more than one person. In all of these places, they use ustedes. There are some other places of the world that do kind of use a form of vosotros. In Argentina, they use vos, but we're not going to emphasize that. So this is how it breaks down, right? And there's some cultural factors that we'll be discussing. So take a look. How would you address these two? Well, he is probably a tú, and this gentleman is an usted. But you're talking to both of them. So you're going to say, hey, y'all. So you would probably use ustedes because you would stick with the more formal of the two registers. What about with her? Definitely usted. How about this guy? He seems kind of friendly. Well, depends on you. How old are you? How comfortable are you addressing him? You would either use tú or usted. Your call. Over here, barristas. There are two of them. You're saying, hey, you two, hey, y'all. Don't forget the sugar. You would either use vosotros or ustedes. If you were in Spain, you would use vosotros. If you were anywhere else in the world, you would use ustedes. What about with your Uber driver? Well, that depends a lot. It depends on the age of your Uber driver. It depends on what country you're in. So if you're in a country that favors more formal interactions between people, like Mexico, for example, there are places in Mexico where they're much more formal. You would use usted. However, if your Uber driver is someone close to your age or you just feel comfortable, you might use tú. So it's a discrepancy. It's your call. How about here with shopkeeper? Probably usted. And with this adorable child, tú. There are places like Venezuela, where I was visiting, where they speak to children with usted. To me, that was super weird, but it does happen. So the most common would be tú. Some places, you're going to hear usted for everybody. What about this lady? She is about your age, maybe, or maybe not. So it'd be your call. Tú or usted. Her? I don't even know. Use your judgment. He looks pretty serious. Usted. What about Shakira? Usted. This guy looks friendly? Stick to tú. What about this weird lady? Oh wait, that's me. You're going to use tú, but with all of your other professors, you're going to use usted. All right, moving on. Further examples. These guys, you're definitely going to use ustedes. They are older. With this group, I would use vosotros because of the Spain thing, but most of the world would probably use ustedes to address them and say, hey, y'all, let's go get some coffee. These guys are policías, ustedes. This group, kids, I would definitely use vosotros, but many parts of the world use ustedes. Both are valid. Take a look at this fotografía interesante. What are those things? They're jamones. Sorry if there's any vegetarians. But this is very common in the markets to go, and it's very expensive actually to buy a whole trozo de jamón grande, but they'll slice off whatever you want. And so to the shopkeepers, you probably address them as ustedes. Now you'll hear older people, such as my mother-in-law or something, in there, and she would address them as vosotros because she's been buying from the same people for years. So probably ustedes. What about up here? If the students were addressing the professor, they would address him as usted, but how would the professor address the students? Well, in Spain, he would probably call them vosotros, and in other parts, he would just use ustedes. So it depends on who's talking to whom. And in this last one, probably ustedes. These guys are a little bit older, so some respeto, por favor. All right, we've talked about the abbreviations. For usted and ustedes, more often it's abbreviated. These do not get abbreviated, and there's a reason for that. If you try to abbreviate them, you probably end up writing a different word in Spanish. So if you choose to include these, you're going to include the whole word, right? So there's no Spanish equivalent for it. Where is it? There's some little Spanish kids right now studying English somewhere in the world, and they're saying their subject pronouns, and they're going I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, they. So when they get to it, they're like, why is there an it? They don't understand this neutral it. Well, the reason why it doesn't exist in Spanish is because all of the nouns have a gender. For example, in this case, computadora, is that a chico or a chica, masculino or femenino? It's femenino, right? It ends in an A, it's computadora. When we talk about lápiz or bolígrafo, right? Bolígrafo is el bolígrafo, is masculino. So it's like a he. And that's why there's no it in español, because everything is either he or she. So, ¿qué es? Es una computadora, right? Rarely would we add the ella for that because there's no reason to emphasize that. So, let's pair up the subject pronouns with the verb ser. So, repite, yo, tú, él, ella, usted. Here are all the singular ones. Can you remember the plural ones? The plural is simply, instead of I, we. Instead of you, y'all. And instead of he or she, or it, or formal you, it's they, or y'all. Here they are. Nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, y ustedes. So we're going to look at some very simple examples of how we would conjugate the verb ser to match each of these people. So for yo, ser is soy. So for example, soy artista. Tú eres generoso. Eres is the form of the verb ser that matches tú. Él es profesor. Ella es conductora. Usted es de Bolivia. Moving on to the plural realm. Nosotros somos dentistas. Vosotros sois estúpidos. Oh, that's not true. Ellos son turistas. Ellas son de Panamá. Y ustedes son estudiosos. So if we're looking at this slide, you can see that your cognados come in really handy for this, to be able to identify the meanings of many of these words. I am an artist. You are generous. He is a teacher. What about this one? Conductora. It's a driver, right? Like a conductor. So it's often easier to learn these if you're familiar with this concept in your own native language. And since we learned our own language through imitation, repetition, and motivation, you probably didn't learn it this way with your folks when you were a baby. So let's take a look at what we're trying to break down here for your learning module. So you say, I am. We're conjugating the verb ser in English. You are. He, she, it is. Right? You would never say you is or I are. We are, y'all are, they are. So this is how it breaks down in English. And actually, English is really challenging because they say, why are there so many repeated? When in Spanish, each person has its own different conjugation that matches it, which makes a lot of sense to them. So to break it down a little bit easier for you, not easier, but just clearly. So here we go. Yo soy. Repite. Tú eres. Él, ella, usted es. Nosotros, nosotras somos. Vosotros, vosotras sois. Ellos, ellas y ustedes son. Now we'll just say the verbs. Repite. Soy. Eres. Es. Somos, sois, son. Bien. So I emphasize this because if you took Spanish or French or some other language in a previous experience, then maybe this is pretty easy. But if you're new to this language game, like some students may be, it's their first time studying, it's a concept to grasp. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. For example, what does eres mean in English? It means you are. What is sois? Y'all are. What is soy? I am. Son? They are. Somos? We are. Es? He or she or it. In the case of Spanish, you formal as well, is. So that's how you break down the verb. Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, y son. Every verb is going to match up with these subject pronouns. So learning them will help you tackle all kinds of verbs. So let's go through and look at some examples for each of these in context. So this guy says, Yo soy de Perú. What's he saying? I'm from Peru. ¿Tú eres de Cuba? And she answers, Yo no soy de Cuba. Yo soy de la República Dominica. So what is she asking? Are you from Cuba? And she says, No, I'm not from Cuba. I am from the República Dominica. Right? Tú. So here's a slide for él, ella y usted. What is she thinking? Él no es de los Estados Unidos. What is he thinking? Ella es muy atractiva. So she's thinking, he's not from the US. And he's thinking something else, right? Some examples for nosotros and nosotras. So nosotros somos la clase de 2019. Do you remember how to say the year now? I'll ask you. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Let's say it's September 30th. Hoy es el 30 de septiembre del 2018. Right? But in this case, we're looking at an example using the verb ser to say we are the class of 2019. Nosotros somos. And over here, they say nosotros somos monarchs. Presumably monarchs is a mascot, a mascota. So I'd like to point out that if you have a group of all chicos, it's nosotros. But if you have a mixed group with chicos y chicas, it's still nosotros. Now, if you have all females, you could say nosotras somos deportistas. We are, what is this word? Does it look like a cognate? Well, it means athletic, sporty. So not such a cognate, but this means we are sporty. Here's an example with vosotros. So this lady's thinking, she's actually, let's pretend like she's speaking directly to them in Spain. And she says, Hey, y'all are ridiculous. Vosotros sois ridículos. Now she gets to meet these lovely ladies and she says, Y'all are dynamic. Vosotras sois dinámicas. Speaking to this group, she's going to ask a question. Are y'all from Mexico or the US? Vosotros sois de México o de los Estados Unidos? Mira este grupo. ¿Quiénes son? Es Selena. Did you see the movie? I'd do anything for Salinas. ¿De dónde son? ¿Son de México o son de los Estados Unidos? Pues Selena es de los Estados Unidos. Es de Texas. Es de Corpus Christi en Texas, realmente. She learned Spanish later in life. Her father started to teach her. Ellos, ellas y ustedes. So, what is he saying? They are boys. Muchachos is like chicos. He's asking a question. Ellas son amigas? Are they friends? Mariah says, ustedes son maravillosos. How would you say that in English? Y'all are marvelous, right? Do you know Mariah has some Hispanic in her as well? I think it's Colombian. So, take a look at sentence structure. This is what this slide deals with. Just trying to kind of diagram how do we form these sentences in Spanish because it's slightly different than English. So take a look. Here you have your S standing for subject, V standing for verb. And so if you wanted to negate an action, you would insert a no, but where does the no go? Well, it goes right before the verb, no matter what the situation is. So, a statement. I am a teacher. Yo soy profesora. Now I want to negate it. I would say, yo no soy profesora. This word here, yo, is actually optional. You don't even have to say it. So I could also say, I am a teacher, I'm not a teacher. Soy profesora or no soy profesora. And that's where the no goes. Let's take a look at some more sentence structure issues. So, subject, verb. So we want to make a statement, and we say, you are a student. We would say, eres estudiante. Optionally, we could include the tú and say, tú eres estudiante. Right? This word, it doesn't matter whether you include it or not. Then, you want to make a question. So in English, it's quite complicated. You have to add new words and mix them around. But in Spanish, I'm pleased to let you know that it's super easy. All you have to do is change your voice inflection. Take this statement, you are a student, eres estudiante, or tú eres estudiante, and raise your voice up at the end. So you could say, tú eres estudiante, and boom, you got a question. You've changed your statement into a question just by raising your voice. You don't need to add any new words. A lot of times, English speakers want to say, are you a student? Okay, how do you say are in Spanish? How do you say you know, but it doesn't work that way. You make your statement, raise your voice at the end. You might sound a little silly, but we're going to sound silly together. So, take your statement, ¿eres tú estudiante? ¿Eres tú estudiante? Or you could just leave out this word entirely because it's optional, and you could just say, ¿eres estudiante? ¿Eres estudiante? Might sound a little silly, but you just take a statement and make it into a question. Easy peasy. Now let's do some matching. Based on how you conjugate the verb ser and which form of the verb ser goes with the correct subject, how would you match this up? So, yo, A, B, C, D, E. C, soy optimista. Rafael y Carlos. Now I was showing you the subject pronouns yo, tú, él, ella, usted, etc. Which of those subject pronouns would correspond to Rafael y Carlos? It would be they. So ellos would correspond. The conjugation of the verb ser that matches ellos is son. So Rafael y Carlos son guapos. Or ellos son guapos. Or if we already knew who we were talking about, you could simply say son guapos. La profesora. Which one of the subject pronouns yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, etc. corresponds to la profesora? It would be ella or she. If you were speaking directly to la profesora, to her face, you would use usted. But in this sentence, presumably we're talking about her, so it'd be she is. And the answer is young. Ha. Tú. That one's easy. It's eres. Tú eres inteligente. Maite y yo. Maite is a very common name. Which one of the subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, usted, corresponds to Maite y yo? Well, it would be nosotros. And in my case, since Maite is a female and I'm a female, it would be nosotras. So, somos trabajadores. Trabajadores means hardworking. Joven is young. And the rest of them, well, no, guapos is not a cognado either. It means handsome. These two are cognados. All right, let's take el verbo ser and talk about origin, nationality. We practiced this one before when I would say, ¿de dónde eres tú? And you would say, yo soy de Carolina del Norte, or soy de Carolina del Norte. So we're going to practice these. Manuel y José. Once again, that's a they, like ellos. We're going to say they're American. First let's say they're from the United States. Manuel y José son de los Estados Unidos. Ellos son americanos. Now we're going to say you are from Venezuela. You are Venezuelan. Usted es de Venezuela. Usted es venezolano. She's from Puerto Rico. Ella es de Puerto Rico. Ella es puertorriqueña. Y'all, you guys, formal, are from Venezuela. Ustedes son de Venezuela. Ustedes son venezolanos. Alfonso y yo, what does that make? Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Alfonso y yo makes a we, makes a nosotros. So, we're going to say we are Colombian. Alfonso y yo somos colombianos. Somos de Colombia. Most important question is ¿de dónde eres tú? And answering yo soy de. Now, if you were to go and travel and someone says ¿de dónde eres tú? And you say, soy americano. What could be the problem with that? It's clear, right? Well, there are lots of Americas. So I find that when I travel, if I say soy americana, they might think that I'm from South America. They don't necessarily associate it with North America, which is why I say soy de los Estados Unidos or soy estadounidense or norteamericana, right? Some examples. I'm going to ask where these people are from, talk about their origin. So, ¿de dónde es Angelina Jolie? Ella es de Los Ángeles. Ella es de los Estados Unidos. ¿De dónde es Antonio Banderas? Antonio Banderas es de España. Él es de Málaga. Está en el sur de España. ¿De dónde es Sammy Sosa? Sammy Sosa es de la República Dominicana. Sammy Sosa es un jugador de fútbol muy famoso. ¿De dónde es Einstein? Einstein es de Germany. ¿Cómo se dice Germany en español? Se dice Alemania. Alemania. Entonces, Einstein es de Alemania. ¿De dónde es Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King es de... ¿De dónde es Martin Luther King? Es de Georgia. Sí, Martin Luther King es de Georgia. ¿De dónde es Penélope Cruz? Ella es de España. ¿De dónde es Papá Noel? Papá Noel es del Polo Norte. ¿De dónde es Tom Cruise? Yo no sé. Pero Tom Cruise es de los Estados Unidos. Él es norteamericano. Él es estadounidense. ¿De dónde es Oprah? Ella es de Mississippi. Yeah, some good examples for you. Whoops. I'll try that again. I need to work on my clicking. Goodness gracious. Lo siento, estudiantes. Lo siento. Perdón. I'm going to figure this out. And I appreciate your patience while I do. Huh. And it only took 15 clicks. Lo siento. All right. Moving on. Uses of ser. So we've talked about the origin and the nationality extensively. De donde eres, yo soy de. But what if someone were to use it with different question words? We've seen question words like ¿cómo? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Dónde? ¿De dónde eres? ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo estás? So what if we paired those with ser, different forms of it? If I asked you, ¿qué eres tú? You would say, what are you? You would say, yo soy estudiante. I would say, yo soy profesora. ¿Quién eres tú? Who are you? Right? ¿Quién es who? Yo soy Maite. Yo soy Bethé. ¿Qué es? What is it? We saw this in the identification for es una computadora, or we could say es un libro, or we could say es un bolígrafo. ¿De dónde eres? Soy de Virginia, o soy estadounidense. Now, ¿cómo estás? Is how are you? So what if we pair como with the verb ser? It would be, what are you like? That's your new question. So, ¿cómo eres? Yo soy intelectual y generosa. All right, ser is also used to express possession. This little word here, de. I've mentioned this before. Whoops, I just blacked it out. De means of or from. So, let me see if I can get my stuff going on. All right, so de means of or from. So if I say de donde eres, where are you from? But if I ask somebody, de quién es esta mochila, it means of whom is this backpack? Or whose backpack is it? Possession, right? Now, one note, if you combine de with el, you have del. It's a contraction. So, de el equals del. Just a note for the future, a plus el is going to equal al, right? We're not there yet, but just a little note for you advanced students. So how would you say it's Marisa's backpack? You would say es. Nope, you would not do that. All of a sudden I have a clicking deficiency. My goodness. Perdón, qué horror. Aleluya, aleluya. Lo siento, estudiantes. Es la mochila de Marisa. ¿De quiénes son los lápices? So, of or from whom are the pencils? It's how you say, whose pencils are these? Possession. They're the boys' pencils. So how would you start this out? Start out with a verb. Pencils, is that like a yo, tú, él, ella, usted? Pencils are los lápices. So that's like a they, right? So you would use they, ellos, with the form of the verb son. So there are the boys' pencils is son los lápices del chico. They are the pencils of the boy. Son los lápices del chico. We're going to practice more with this, so no worries. We also use ser to talk about profession. So we're just going to make some sentences here, a little bit random. So let's say we are dentists. Can you remember the form of the ser that goes with it? You have to choose from soy, eres, es, somos, sois, or son. So nosotros somos dentistas. Note how since nosotros is plural, I'm making dentista end with an SA to make it plural, dentistas. More on that another day. We're going to say Maria and Juan are teachers. Maria y Juan son profes. They are constructors, construction workers, see? Ellos son constructores. What if they were all female construction workers? It would be ellas son constructoras. Laura is a shop worker. This is shop worker, right? It depends on you. So, Laura es dependienta. How about y'all are waiters? You could say waiter, camarero, or mesero. You would say vosotros sois camareros. Bien? All right, back to the possession. Let's practice. We're going to say the chair belongs to Maria. So, ¿de quién es la silla? La silla es de Maria. It gets fairly redundant, which is a good thing. That's why I practice similar examples over and over. So, ¿de quién es el cuaderno? I'm going to write it out for you. El cuaderno es de los jóvenes. Whoops. Do you know what jóvenes means? It means youngsters. So, ¿de quiénes son los lápices? No, this is a bolígrafo. ¿De quiénes son los bolígrafos? They are our bolígrafos. So I would say that I would like to write it for you. Bien. So I would say, son los bolis de nosotros. As such. Now, ¿de quién es el lápiz? ¿De quién es el lápiz? ¿Es el lápiz del estudiante. Maybe I'll write that one out for you real quick, if my computer will be nice and play nice. So, es el lápiz del estudiante. There we go. And you can see how del contracted. And then finally, this one is el mapa. Not so hard. So, ¿de quién es el mapa? El mapa es de usted. Bien? Lots of examples with ser. Hopefully, not too confusing. If you do have any questions, ¿hay preguntas? ¿Tienes preguntas? If your answer is sí, yo tengo preguntas, shoot me an email. Gracias. Espero que te haya gustado la presentación y hasta semana 3. Hasta luego. Adiós.